I first read Fruits Basket, yes, I started with the manga, oddly enough, when it was actually in my school's library. I want to say 2005, 2006. And I really did fall in love with it for the most part. And it was interesting because a lot of the guys I knew were into it as well. Despite the fact that most of us were into things like Bleach, Naruto, me personally was One Piece, Rave Master, a lot of shonen titles. But Fruits Basket was the one series that a lot of guys I knew read and a lot of girls I knew read. And for good reason. Fruits Basket was the one series that managed to get people to kind of feel a lot of emotion. It brings you in with the novelty of Toru Honda, this young orphan girl who recently lost her mother, who is basically trying her best to make it on her own. But when the Soma family, mostly consisting of Shigeru, who is a writer, his young relative Yuki, who's the most popular kid in school, and the delinquent and outcast of the Soma family, Kyo, they find out how Toru has been living and pretty much invite her into their family for the most part. Now, the thing about Japan is they don't really have protective services in the same way other places do. I mean, Toru's old enough to work, old enough to make a living wage, therefore she's able to kind of do more or less whatever she wants. The idea of being an emancipated minor is a little bit more culpable in Japanese society to a certain degree. It's hard to say if that's really the case in nowadays, but I really did love the manga because it really knew how to convey a lot of the passion and the struggle, despite the fact that there was so much humor within it. A lot of that humor coming from the fact that whenever a member of the Soma family is hugged by a member of the opposite sex, they turn into one of the 12 members of the Chinese zodiac, with Kyo, oddly enough, transforming into the mythical 13th member, which was the cat. There's a storyline where the cat was deceptive and devious and tried to trick their way to the front of the pack and ended up being expelled from the zodiac. And that's also reflected in the way that Kyo is treated within the Soma family, as an outcast, as a nuisance, as someone who's not wanted, or as a bit of a hanger-on. But as the story goes forward, Toru and Kyo form this really special relationship, with Kyo's more rough exterior having no choice but to kind of be melted away by Toru, and how she has this tendency to accept people pretty much unconditionally. Despite any risk to her own being, she time and time again tends to just accept others, no matter how much they might rage against her, despise her, treat her poorly. She almost never takes the role of someone who looks down on others because of the way that they are. And it's through her kinder nature that she actually ends up healing a lot of members of the Soma family in one way or another. The only downside I would say there is towards the manga is that sometimes certain scenes get a little bit muddied. And don't take that as me saying that the art is bad. I really don't want to put that across. It's just that a lot of the shoujo genre, and oddly enough, I've read a lot of shoujo series. They tend not to always show a lot of detail in certain areas of the volume. It's not shocking when you have a shoujo series where the artist, in this case Natsuki Takaya, can't always do the best at drawing background. She does it a lot better than most other shoujo artists I've seen before, but there's moments where it's mostly the character's voice talking, or there are big splash pages which are filled up with flowers and such like that, where some of the details are kind of lost in the weeds. Sometimes you're not exactly certain who's talking. Sometimes the artist will do a good job of showing off some representation to make sure you know what's going on. Other times, it's kind of hit or miss. But definitely going forward, the art just really improves, like most artists do. Especially with a mangaka who's still kind of developing and growing. But that's the thing. The art doesn't really matter too much, it's the heart of the manga that's important to get across. And Natsuki really does a great job of conveying that. The struggles that everyone is going through, how no one hurts you more than family, how every member of this family, the Soma family, is going through their own problems, their own ups and downs, lefts and rights, and their struggles to move past their own inner demon. And that really is the selling point of Fruits Basket, is just it really pulls at your heart in ways you wouldn't imagine. And even if you don't relate to one of the Soma family members, there's another right around the corner who is going through their own thing, who has their own hidden issues, their own hidden problems that they need to work around to some degree. And is it always a clean direction that it goes in? No, not at all. But it's always a very satisfying way things go. And in terms of the anime, the original Fruits Basket anime was one that I really did love and admire. The only thing that kind of brought it down was that towards the end, because the manga wasn't even remotely close to being done, it did the usual thing of going off in its own direction, as there was still a lot of content that had yet to even be put out there. But regardless, the overall premise really did still shine through in the initial anime adaptation. I mean, there's just certain elements that are very clear to see, and while the series does diverge, it isn't without warrant. It doesn't go so completely off the rails that you couldn't really kind of see it almost picking back up where it left off to a certain degree and continuing on with the original adaptation. Funny enough, it would take almost 20 years to get another adaptation in 2019, which more closely adapts the overall premise of Fruits Basket. And not only that, really does a fantastic job in terms of the animation, the way the characters are portrayed, because this is well after the manga had ended. And the benefit of that is that with the proper director, you can allude to certain things, give emphasis to things that are very important later down the line. And not only that, not to say that the original anime did a bad job, it was pretty good, but it just adapts the later on look of the manga towards the beginning, so it stays consistent throughout. Because the mangaka's skills grew and developed over the course of Fruits Basket, and certain character designs looked very different. Not too different, but a good amount different towards the end. And to see Toru looking the way she did towards the end of the manga throughout the entire series is just very fascinating. And any additions that they make only help to reinforce certain things that lead you towards the ultimate solving of the mystery as it goes along. Because of course, with a curse like this, the ultimate goal is to someday cure the entire Soma family of this curse. That kind of goes without saying. As soon as you're introduced to a curse, hey, we gotta solve it by the end of the series. But it's the how, the whys, the wheres, the whens, the struggles that really help you just be fascinated with where the story is going moving forward. Now, have I completely watched the newer anime adaptation? No, for the most part, just because I wanted to be able to watch it from start to finish. And considering it just recently finished up, I now have that at my leisure. And I'm actually really excited to revisit one of the all-time best manga that I've ever read and see it be fully adapted, see certain things a little bit more fleshed out, be presented a little bit more clearly, see if the changes made throughout the course of the series really do help to enhance it moving forward. I have a special place in my heart for Fruits Basket because it really did bring a lot of emotion out of me. And there's even a follow-up story about Toru's parents that didn't get as much attention in the manga from what I remember, but it's been a while since I've read Fruits Basket, but it's definitely something that I'm interested to see. Fruits Basket really does bring out a lot of emotion from people who read it. And if you haven't read it or even watched the newer anime, I highly recommend it. It is a heartstring puller. It is a sweet, beautiful story that really deserves your love and admiration because it's just one of the best, one of the absolute best stories. And I guarantee you will love it too. But if you have seen Fruits Basket, read it, watch the original anime, watch the newer anime, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Who were some of your favorite characters? What were some of your favorite moments? And if you haven't checked it out before, let me know if this video actually piqued your interest into the story. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.